honestly about like a half hour, maybe bring questions in depth. So what part of the press conference spoke to you the loudest, Kyle?
But how could we pick just one? We've been waiting for this one a long time. This is like the people who sleep out for 3 months for the Phantom Menace to come out, and then it finally comes out. This is our Phantom Menace. Yep. And I'm going to pick one part right now that, a few weeks ago we were talking about Tom Brady, who kind of compared himself to Jordan and Gretzky. He was very honest, and if you want to call it arrogant, fine. But the part for me with Rodgers was when he used a word that I think is very important in how this whole summer has transpired, and it's the word outlier. It was this.
The organization looks at me and my job as just to play. In my opinion, based on what I've accomplished in this league, the way I care about my teammates, the way I show up in the locker room, the way I lead, the way I conduct myself in the community, you should tie myself to a little bit more input. The rules, are the same for most people, but every now and then there's some outliers, guys who've been in an organization for 17 years and won a few MVPs, where they can be in conversations at a different higher level. I'm not asking for anything that other great quarterbacks across the last few decades have not gotten. The opportunity to just be in conversation.
Decades. It's candor. It's what we always want. I think the message there is, so I got the long hair and I got the office t-shirt, but here's the facts. I am the best player at the biggest position in the biggest sport in this country. The rules do not apply to me. I am better than you, I am smarter than you, and I'm wiser than you, and I want to flex some of that. And I think I've earned that. And the fact is, we just saw Tom Brady assemble his band of merry men down in Florida, do whatever he wants and bring all his friends, and they won a Super Bowl. I'm not the normal guy. It's a crazy take for most people in most lines of work. Do not try that at home. Do not go up in front of your company and say rules don't apply to me. But he did. And I think his take is, the reason I've been so upset is that I am not just some dumb jock who's going to sit here and hope for a Pro Bowl and shoot my soda commercial and then play with whatever roster you guys cough up to me. It has been a mistake for you not to answer me, to ask me, to look into me. I know more than you. I know more about the players than you. I am smarter than you. And moving forward, you better start or this thing's going to end terribly. And I will just end in saying, it might end terribly. They didn't solve anything with this. Jordan Love is still on the team, Brian Gutekunst is still the general manager, and Rodgers still has an uncertain future. So that outlier factor, if he's going to start playing that card hard, we're going to do it all year, and we're going to do it again next year.
It's like anytime somebody goes through a divorce and say, like, what happened? And they're like, man, I don't know. Like, I just woke up one day and, like, things were working. It's like, no, this has been going on a long time. Like, you guys have been taking each other for granted or something. Like, you get that feeling. And to your point with Aaron Rodgers, it's like, why wouldn't you use all of his resources? He's not just a guy that throws passes. He's not just, hey, that's all I do. And he had a lot to offer. I loved what he said there. I really loved what he said about all the players that left the organization. He stuck up for a lot of guys that he thought were mistreated on the way out. But like everybody's looking at this like is this the last dance? Is this the last season for Aaron Rodgers and for Davante Adams? And I thought something that jumped out at me in this was when he talked about getting back to training and when he talked about the fire that burns within him. Here he is.
I took time working on myself and trying to better myself in a number of areas where I feel like I could improve based on my own patterns and conditioning. And it was a lot of growth in that process. I continued to find joy and happiness in things off the field. However, there's still a big competitive hole in my body that I need to fill. And as I got back into my workouts, I just realized that I know I can still play, and I want to still play. And as long as I feel like I can give 100% to the team, then I should still play.
Okay.
Listen, Green Bay Packers fans,
I love
that. Kyle, Nate, we've all been worried about, like, is this the last year?
Yeah.
I listened to that, and I heard a guy that, man, he still loves to train. He took a little time to himself, went and did some other things. But when he got back to training, it was like, man, this is what I love to do. I've still got that competitive fire. I want to keep rolling. That didn't sound like a guy who's like, you know what, this is it, my last song. My last hurrah. I've got a lot more left in me, and when you look at the way he played last year, absolutely. Like there is no fall off right now for AR.
Yeah, KB, something that stands out in your clip is him saying, I just want what guys, he didn't say that are playing quarterback now. He said over the last few decades.
Sure.
So immediately he just thrusted himself into the conversation of the greatest quarterbacks that we know, which is the 90s, early 2000s, and now he's very selective. I mean, meticulous when it comes to picking words and how he says things. And then, Sean, you know, what stood out to the clip that you chose, working on myself. You know, in other words, finding happiness. And like what was going on with Simone Biles withdrawing, Naomi Osaka, even dating back to the 90s, Jordan taking a break from sports in general and then playing baseball. We've seen this in sports, and I think now athletes are a little bit more confident in coming out and saying, you know what, I'm dealing with a lot. I need to step away from the game. I don't care if you like it, because you may be concerned about football and my wealth, but my mental health is my wealth. So there's a deeper conversation to be had when it comes to that. For me, you know, you can pick 1,000 things when it comes to Aaron Rodgers and what he was talking about, the things that he was addressing, naming all of those players, looking down at a sheet and not wanting to miss a guy when he wanted to reference his former teammates. I mean, really some powerful stuff. But I didn't want to pick a clip from Aaron Rodgers. What stood out to me was something that his head coach, Matt LaFleur, said. Check it out.
You're always prepared for the possibilities, and you're always planning and thinking about, you know, either scenario, because we were, quite frankly, very unsure. So you have to have plans for whatever would happen. And I'm just really happy that he's back in the building. He's a part of this football team, because, you know, with him, we feel like the sky's the limit. I can say that he is the most competitive person I've ever been around. So there's no doubt about it that he's going to go out there and play to the highest of his ability.
You know, what stands out to me in that statement is him saying we're preparing for any and every possibility. We didn't know what was going to happen. But I don't think he was just talking about this summer. I also feel like he's talking about this season and what's going to happen afterwards. He's almost projecting, in a sense, because we don't know. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be around for the next few years. Maybe this is his last dance. You know, it reminds me of me being a father and going on a road trip when my kids were very young, and I had a couple of babies, some still in diapers. We're sitting there, and we're just trying to prepare for every possibility. We're getting in the car. All right, you got the juice boxes check, okay? You got the snacks check, okay? You got the food. What about the video games and the toys? Do you have the iPads?
The wet wipes, the diapers.
You have the wet wipes and the diapers, because you know when you have kids that young, it happens, and that almost happened for the Packers. I think they're preparing for something that could happen. And for me, looking at Matt LaFleur, just being very honest and transparent in that moment, saying, we don't know what's going on. Just preparing for every possibility, almost like Doctor Strange in a sense. So let's see what's going to happen this season, and then we'll reassess what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers in 2022.
So what should happen this season? Because it's great to pick apart and pull out our favorite parts and objectively talk about them. We made a lot, Kyle, at this breakfast table about just give him the heads up. Keep him in the loop. Do what the Bears did, Nagy did, Pace it with Mitchell Trubisky. Let them know you're drafting Justin Fields. It's a respect thing. It's a lines of communication thing. We talked about it. But it turns out, based off half hour of what I heard yesterday, it's about control. It's about him wanting input. Tell me, should Aaron Rodgers / should players have input in decisions, coaching hires, and roster moves? Because he did bring up specifically, meticulously, 2018 when they hired Matt LaFleur as his coach. And he's like, I'm lucky I liked him. He wants a say in that. Should he have that this year beyond? And should players, because it sets a precedent, the Brady, LeBron effect that you alluded to?
Sure. I think to an extent. You know, I'm not going to ask Aaron Rodgers what we should do with our linebackers and safeties. But when it comes down to like that guy that he's going to want on 3rd and 8, and if he gets him, we win the playoff game. If he doesn't, we don't. I think he should. Yeah, and not just him. Like you said, I believe anybody at this point, Russell Wilson, all these veterans, they should. But what's interesting now to bring that up is that let's see how this Randall Cobb thing works out. Because
100%.
Maybe it won't. Maybe Randall Cobb doesn't have it. Maybe the chemistry's not there. And if we believe, like I do, that was a full orchestration of Rodgers, it better work out, because we're immediately putting that theory to a test. If Cobb is back as Rodgers wanted him, I mean, give me 55 catches this year then, because otherwise, like, we had other guys.
And let's be very clear. This isn't the first time a quarterback wants this. This isn't the first time or the last time this has happened in the NFL. This has been happening, in Rodgers' words, for decades. And not just the NFL, but every sport. And I think for players in Rodgers' position, what fans may not know is that he can look up into the front office and see coaches, executives, people that work there that were hired strictly on the relationship of people making decisions in that front office. So as a player, you're thinking, all right, so if you can have an impact on things that are going on above me, why can't your best player, the one bringing in the money, putting butts in seats, have an impact on what's going on the field in between the white lines? So I think that's where fans are like, wait, he wants control.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to bring people in. He wants to make decisions. I don't think you guys understand. When you open those doors, Sean, these coaches is hiring their buddies, their cousins, their nephews, and pops and all that.
You're going to make some bad decisions, and Uncle Leo's coming in, and he's getting a full-time starting spot. So, control. You can't have control. But to your point, Kay, I think they should be involved. And not every quarterback should be involved in all these decisions.
How do you decide which quarterback should be involved? Tenure, veteran, won the MVP. That's the reason Aaron can do this, because you can't say he can't have say. He's got to focus on winning games. Well, he's the MVP.
I think it's intelligence and accomplishments.
And so,
and I think some guys don't want to be involved.
And
longevity want to play ball.
Well, some guys don't. They just want, hey, let's show them play ball.
Yeah.
I think to your point, it's the relationship with the team. How long have you been there? I mean, have you been there for 4 or 5 years? Like, hold on, pump the brakes a little bit. He's been there, for, what years is 14, 16 for Aaron Rodgers? He's been there a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They won a Super Bowl. He's won a couple of MVPs. I think when you kind of look at, like, NBA teams, look at LeBron, like, what did he do? It's like, look, I'm going to this city. Like, here are the guys I want to play with. Like, all right, he may have somebody that's more talented, but I know what this guy brings to the locker room. Like, he talked about the locker room guys that they shipped out or that they undervalued.
He did.
Look, Corey Linsley, his center, just went and signed with the Chargers. And that was his guy. And now it's like, I'm tired of having that happen and nobody even asking me about it. It's like when we do this show, like, look, you guys, everybody, they love us having input. And I appreciate that. I love coming on the show, and it's like, look, this is us. We're going to go out
yes,
there and
but
do
not decision-making necessarily.
Correct.
I get very annoyed on our show, candidly, if I'm kept out of the loop of something. Like, why didn't I know that? I very much empathize with Aaron Rodgers in that world. Like, keep me in the loop. Oh, you're going to make this call, but do I make the calls? No, I don't, because there's people above me making those decisions. Should he make those decisions? He wanted Randall Cobb. If he went and made his case and they listened to him and they still were like, I don't think so, bud, then does it fall? Then it's over? Or does he force it? I don't know how that works.
I think the Cobb experiment is funny.
Opening a can of worms by this is what I'm saying.
And I just, my last word on this, I think Rodgers even took a point to say this, that I don't have veto power. Just check in with me. Give me the respect of saying, what do you think? And maybe I can talk you out of it, maybe I can't. I think that's fair.
I do too. At GMFB, what do you think out there? What should be the levels of involvement of a quarterback? What should be, I don't even know, the reputation, the resume to have an input like that? Let us know at GMFB. We all know the big winner, Matt LaFleur. So we're going to talk about